What I find fascinating here is that if you take the alien encounters that people have, and then you compare them to the spiritualistic activity that was going on in the 19th century. So in the 19th century, spiritualism was all the rage. We had the Fox sisters who had mysterious rappings in the house.
Right.
You even had, it got so popular that Mary Lincoln, after some personal tragedy, was holding seances in the White House. And or I don't know if they were actually in the White House, but she was holding seances, and I believe Abraham Lincoln went to one or two of those. Darwin in the 1870s went to a seance. This was very popular, and they were very popular in Germany leading up into World War II. And then you compare the messages that these people are getting from alien beings, and what you find is that they very closely parallel the messages that people were getting at spiritualistic seances in the 19th century.
Right.
It's almost as if the seance wasn't good enough anymore, and in a high-tech space-age society, the same messages had to be delivered by other beings that you could explain scientifically, right? Here's what's fascinating. The spiritualistic movement of the 19th century was a deliberate effort. If you read those who gave birth to it, Madame Blavatsky and others, and I'm not recommending anybody reads this garbage. I read it for you. No, really, don't immerse your mind in this stuff. But what I find fascinating is that they were attempting to reconcile, the world had gone very materialistic. We were in the Enlightenment, and we were coming up on the Industrial Age and then the Scientific Age. But there's an aching void in everybody's heart for spiritual content.
Right.
And they're trying to reconcile spiritualism or a desire for spirituality with science, and they come up with seances. Well, those kind of fall out of fashion. And now we have alien encounters. Here's what's interesting. Whitley Strieber wrote another book, Transformation, and he sees a female alien, and he ponders aloud, I think this might be the Virgin Mary that people were seeing way back when, and it's an alien.
Right.
Why is it he wrote another book, Afterlife Revolution. He made a pact with his wife, Anne, that if one of them died first, the other would come back and communicate. And so his wife, Anne, dies and he starts with flying saucers, and he ends up with speaking to the dead.
And throughout human history, we've seen these alien type of creatures, I guess. I'm thinking of fairies and dragons, and they've been part of our story as humans. And what you're sharing, Shawn, reminds me of something I read as we were getting ready for this program today by David Clark. He's a UFO researcher. He was a believer formerly. He's now a skeptic, but he wrote something really interesting, and I'll just quote him. He says, "We've become more materialistic, scientific, secular, and yet we are exactly the same human beings with the same physiological and psychological makeup. Our brains are hardwired to believe in something other than ourselves." And of course, I make the application, we're designed by a creator, God, to be connected to something bigger than us as mere humans.
And we took that away in the Industrial Age and the Scientific Age, and people are looking to fill the void.
Absolutely.
So here comes seances. Believe it or not, they were considered a scientific approach to the afterlife, right? And now we've got flying saucers. And here's the thread, and here's what I wanted to land on today and what everybody needs to pay attention to. If these are visitors from other worlds, why in the world do they all seem to need to get to the subject of who Jesus is? Right? Why in the world are they talking about someone who lived on Earth 2,000 years ago?